Here with Delaware Resource Group Superstar Athlete of the Week, Eli Davis, left-handed pitcher from Shawnee, Oklahoma. And Eli, let's start with this. You got a career high at 14 strikeouts in a recent complete game, one-hit shutout of Panhandle State. What went into that performance for you specifically?
Using my fastball, commanding that, and kind of just throwing it wherever I wanted to.
You've gone the distance 4 times in your 8 starts. How important is that to the team for you to be able to display that longevity in your starts?
I think it's a good thing if your first guy of the game is going out there and going deep. It just saves the bullpen for the rest of the games on the weekend.
You had a game against Mid-America Nazarene in February that I'm sure was an important one for you. What do you remember about that going into it, and how did you perform in that game?
Attack the lineup how I knew I needed to, and stayed with the game plan, and just do what I try to do every weekend.
You came to OCU from the University of Kansas, and you pitched a shutout of Kansas State at one point. Mm-hmm. Tell us what went into that performance and what you remember about that one.
Really just the same thing, it's just the same process every day. Just kind of trust it and just know what you do best and attack that.
You also played on multiple state title teams as a high school pitcher as well. Well, what went into some of those performances, and how did that prepare you to be a collegiate pitcher?
Just knowing who I am, really, and like I said, I'm not the biggest person ever, but I know my strengths and I try to do it well.
What brought you to OCU?
Keith Lytle, that guy right over there, and Denny Crable. I mean, the legacy that they have here, and I mean, they're Oklahoma legends, so I mean, that's a big reason.
And what are you studying?
Criminal justice.
And what kind of career plans do you have for yourself?
After this, I plan to go be a cop after baseball's over and try to take my baseball life into being a cop.
All right, that's Delaware Resource Group Superstar Athlete of the Week, Eli Davis. You can follow the stars on OCUsports.com. Here with OCU baseball coach Keith Lytle, his first year as the head coach after many years as an assistant here with the program. And coach, most recently you got a series win over Panhandle State this past weekend. How did the team perform in the series?
It was a little back and forth. We got a great pitching performance out of Eli Davis the first game. He was impressive, 14 strikeouts and a complete game, and he's just our warrior. He's our guy that we can hang our hat on and go out and give us a consistent, good, well-pitched ball game every outing. And the second game we turned around and we didn't hit well at all. With all respect, the pitcher from Panhandle State threw outstanding. I thought he had good stuff that day, and we just couldn't put 2 and 2 together and produce some runs. And then the third game we bounced back really nicely. I think our players were a little disappointed in their performance from the day before, and then we went out and basically walked them off. And the cool thing about that third game is every positional player got to play, at least get in at bat in that game, and that was also beneficial too.
You guys started off the conference season with a sweep of Wayland Baptist. How important was that to get that sweep heading into the meat of your season?
Obviously it's really special. I mean, especially to go down to Plainview, tough place to play. Different environment altogether, turf field, and we played outstanding. Tristan Williams had an outstanding series down there, not only offensively, but made some just tremendous plays defensively in critical situations. And to go down there and take 3 games from him, that's hard to do in Plainview, but I was really impressed with the way we played. Obviously, it got us out of the gate in conference, 3-0 start, and so that was certainly helpful in our quest to, return to winning another conference championship this year.
Tell us a little about your coaching staff. You've got Tanner Schenniger as well as Billy Easley and Derek Snell on staff. What kind of contributions have they made?
Well, of course, all 3 of them have been tremendous. Tanner in his first year as a a college coach, was doing everything that I anticipated him to do. You know, when the process started in replacing the vacant pitching job, if you will, with Denny's passing, because Denny obviously was our head coach, but he was also the pitching coach. That was real important for me in that process. I wanted somebody that was young and somebody that was knowledgeable about pitching, obviously, but the other prerequisite was somebody that had a little Denny in him, and Tanner has that. He played for us for 2 years, not counting COVID, and he's just a special guy, and he's going to be an outstanding head coach someday. I know that. Billy Easley's been here for quite a few years. He actually used to come to my camps when he was a kid, and asked years ago to volunteer and come in and help us coach, and now he's actually on as a part-time staffer here. Billy's probably the most loyal person I've ever met in my life. That guy is here every day, comes in bouncing off the walls, full of energy, and does a great job with our catchers. And then Derek Snell, I can't say enough about Derek, because Derek's doing this pro bono. He's a lieutenant in the fire department here in Oklahoma City. He schedules his entire schedule around ours, and he goes on the road with us. Doesn't get paid, but the payment that he says is just being back at OCU, and he was part of that 2005 national championship team when he played for us. Has a lot of pride in the university and the uniform that we wear. I can't thank Derek enough for what he does.
What has shaped your coaching philosophy?
I think a lot of that, it's kind of a multiple areas. I've been very fortunate. I've coached every level of this game except the big leagues. I started years ago. When I first started here at OCU, the season before, I was coaching out in a collegiate league in Virginia. So you get exposed to a lot of different coaches and kids from different programs all over the country, most of them elite programs, like back in those days, Miami and Pepperdine had just won a national championship, and I had 4 of their players on that team, and so on and so forth. But just the exposure to different people. Later, when I got involved in coaching pro ball, especially at the AAA level, getting to interact with not only the coaches in the Texas Rangers organization, but as we would play teams like the Iowa Cubs and Nashville, and their hitting instructors would come through town, and I always made a point to go pick their brain and share ideas with each other. And so there's been a lot of influence on my life. Denny and I's 34 years. I know we influenced each other in different ways. Ed Fanning, who was our inspirational or motivational speaker here for years, was kind of involved with that program. I can't tell you how much he shaped Denny and I. And then I've had a lot of great support from my family, my wife Jean, who I would be remiss if I didn't mention her, because she has influenced my career in baseball, my philosophies and everything else, because I bounce more stuff off of her than I do anybody in life. So been blessed to have a lot of good people around me that have helped me develop.
What do you remember about when you first came here to OCU, and what brought you here to the university?
Oh gosh, I remember when I first came here, obviously OCU was in a time where they were just starting to evolve in baseball. They had been to a couple World Series under Charlie Lotus, who was the head coach before Denny took over. And I liked the concept about the opportunity to play for a national championship, and then I also thoroughly loved the idea that from the administrative standpoint, I remember meeting President Gerald Walker when I first got here, and I was hired, and the first thing he said to me is, he goes, "I expect you to win." He goes, "I like to win," and that hit me deeply, because here's the president of the university telling you, "I want to win." And the support that we got in a small community like OCU, as I sit here and I look out that window and see all those banners hanging in Freedy, that's a lot of commitment over a long time frame from every program on this campus, not just baseball. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find another school at any level in the country that is so dominant and playing for an opportunity to win a national championship, let alone a conference championship. So that all impressed me with coming here.
Tell us a little bit about your son Joe, who played here at OCU and is now getting an opportunity with the Savannah Bananas.
You know, when Joe was coming out of college, when he finished here, and he broke some records along the way, those were the best 4 years of my life, sharing the same uniform with my son, something that he told me he was going to do since the age of 4. But now watching him do what he's doing, obviously he was hoping he'd have gotten drafted out of here. He was an All-American here, and when that didn't play out, he ended up playing independent ball. He's kicked around all over the country, played in just about every independent league in the country, and he's done well. But this year he got the opportunity to go try out and with the Savannah Bananas. And at first, I got to admit, I was like, Joe, you're going to go play the baseball version of Harmon Globetrotters basketball. I don't know if you going to be happy with that? And he said he was looking forward to it. And I watched Joe now because all of the games are streamed, and he's playing in front of sold-out crowds everywhere he goes. And he's having a blast. And, my wife and I both see it the same way. 30 years from now, this is really still a big deal like the Globetrotters were, for example, which I really feel like it's going to be, especially based on the support that they get from the fans. They're sold out all over the country. You can't get a ticket. And, he's going to be able to look back and say, I was a part of that when it first got started. And he's having a blast. Joe's having the time of his life right now. And it's pretty cool for my wife and I to see him this happy.
Both the baseball and the softball programs are wearing number 28 patches this year. Number 28 is displayed on both fields out in the outfield wall. How is Denny's legacy remaining here at the university?
It's instilled within all of us. I told the players at the beginning of the year, because I caught myself on a daily basis in practice or after practice in a meeting or whatever. No matter what we do, I caught myself initially at the beginning talking so much about Denny. So I felt like I needed to make sure that they were aware of my purpose. We're never going to let Denny get too far away from us. It's not going to happen with me, obviously. He was my brother for 34 years, and we spent more time together than we spent with even our wives, But by talking about him, for the guys that didn't get on the team this year, that didn't get to experience Denny, by talking about him with the new guys, it keeps him here. And I know that I want to make, and that's what I told the players at the beginning of the year, this is my way of keeping Denny in this program, because his legacy, I'll never let that fade. It's just, I miss him every day. It's hard to talk about him. This has been a year of a lot of firsts, and that's been hard personally for me. It doesn't matter what it is, the first national anthem of the year, the first pitch of the year, the first conference game of the year. The other day we had our first parents' weekend, and Denny always looked forward to that and loved that day, and it was another first. There's just so many of them, and but at the same time I feel his presence with me. He's in my heart, and our players that were here last year and played for Denny for the last few years, I know they feel the same way I do. And he will always be the person that really kind of motivated this program to become what it is today.
All right, that's OCU baseball coach Keith Lytle. You can follow the Stars on OCUsports.com.